Dr. Aaron Crabb.
The definitely is necessary, so you did that right. This is an amazing honor for me, and I can't thank you guys enough for just letting me be here and just letting me hear the amazing things that you're doing here in this county. Obviously, I didn't grow up here, but very close, so a lot of these stories kind of hit home, and it's just an amazing. Open Doors sounds like an amazing organization, the volunteers and everything that's going on. It's really amazing to see. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for the work you're doing, but also the opportunity to be here and to share a little bit about how God's kind of worked in and through my life and is still doing so. As he said, just to kind of quickly update everyone, I just finished my first year of residency at Ohio State, working to become an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I'll put a prayer request out there. I work my first night as the only ENT in the hospital on Friday, this upcoming Friday. So if you're hanging out alone Friday night, think about me and hope that nothing crazy happens. I am married. I have two amazing little kids. Owen is 6, and I have a 3-year-old daughter named Evelyn. My wife and I have been married for almost 11 years now, coming up in August. And so yeah, that's kind of where I am now. But I just kind of wanted to go back and explain how God captivated my heart and how it's affected everything I've done since then. So I grew up going to a non-church going, non-spiritual family. We just didn't do it. It wasn't something we had conversations about. It wasn't something that we were interested in or anything. And I think one of the best ways to explain this is, so when I was I remember being in 4th grade, and we had like a letter strip, and we had to come up with as many words as we could. So I remember going in as a 5th grader, going in and you raise your hand, and I'm kind of a nerd, so I was raising my hand, giving answers, and I said Satan. It'll get funnier, I guess, but I said Satan. So, and then there's a 4th grade girl that audibly gasped when I said it. And I was like, this is very confusing. Why is this like a thing? The teacher hesitated and was like, maybe let's write Satin, like S-A-T-I-N. It gets funny because that's what I meant in the first place. There were 2 A's, so I guess the other one was an option. But I was like, this is weird. So I guess I say that to say, I just had no category of the spiritual realm. Like it didn't even exist to me. I couldn't have told you anything about God, obviously nothing about Satin or Satan. And I think that's just a huge weapon that the enemy uses against us. Although I was in 5th grade, I didn't have those conversations. I had no idea that any of that stuff existed. And Second Corinthians talks about how the prince of the air has a veil over our eyes, so we can't see the glory of God. And that was real for me. It wasn't that I had a faint idea or a wrong idea. I had no clue. But then, so I go through middle school. We moved to Liberty Benton as a 6th grader, and I'm kind of older for my grade, so sports becomes my avenue. The thing that I think is gonna really kind of take me to the top of what I think success is. And I vividly remember going into high school. There were 3 goals that I was like, if I accomplish these 3 things, my life will be a success and I'll be happy. So first was sports related. I wanted to play as a freshman on both like football and basketball. I wanted people to like kind of know who I was. I wanted sports to be who I was and my identity. I wanted awards and those kind of things. So that was one. Number 2, again, I'm a nerd. I'm still a nerd. Like I just wanted to do well in school. I didn't want that to be something that I wanted to do my best and also to be the best, like the competitive aspect. And then number 3, the social relational side of things. I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to know who I was. I wanted them to like hanging out with me, and I wanted to have that personality. So we can go through those. Spoiler, I accomplished all of them, really. So sports, I got to play as a freshman, although my friend here just realized that I did lose my first ever football game to Mohawk. So, yeah. They lost before the playoffs, and we made it to the state semifinal that year.
Just saying.
So after that first game, I ended up losing, I think, 9 total games in football and basketball my entire high school career. So that was obviously going well. By the time I was a junior, we'd played in state championship games. I lost them all, but played in a couple of those, was earning awards locally and kind of throughout the state. Obviously knew I was going to continue to play. So the sports one was checked off. The second thing, and Mrs. Spiegel, aka Senora Espejo, can attest. Sorry, that's just what my brain, her name is Espejo to me.
Yeah.
She can attest, like, I don't know, I just like school, and I was kind of a teacher's pet, so I was a little bit ornery, but like in a nice, playful way, I think, kind of.
Yeah.
You can ask her about the shark I gave her as a gift once, if you're ever bored.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
So school was never overly difficult for me. I enjoyed it. I loved studying. I liked rubbing it in Josh Mason's face when he didn't do his homework and I did, that kind of thing. So I got A's. I ended up being one of 11 valedictorians out of high school. And the third one, I had a lot of friends. I enjoyed, it's similar to the community here. It's a smaller community at Liberty Benton. Everyone kind of knows who everyone is. And it was a great time. With the sports and the academics, the social aspect kind of just took care of itself. But by the time I was a junior, I started asking a lot of questions because I knew I was going to continue to pursue these goals into college, especially the sports aspect of it. And man, I wasn't as happy or satisfied or joy-filled. It's hard to explain. I just felt like something was missing. And I had accomplished all these things and done everything I'd set out to do. And I still just didn't have that, I didn't have something that was going to not change. Like, there was always another game. There was always another test. There was always someone else that I had to try to please to create a better relationship. And that's when I really started worrying, because I knew I was going to keep playing in college, and I was like, if I'm not happy now, am I ever going to be happy? Am I ever going to be satisfied? I need to find something what am I missing, really? And I was super fortunate. One of my best friends in high school, named Brett Pashy, just randomly said, hey, out of the blue, I still don't know why he did it, said, hey, we do a Bible study like once a week at someone's house, like, you should come. And at first I was like, nope, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna dodge you. I dodged him hard for probably a month or two. But, he was very persistent, and every week, like, not in a bad way, but just like, hey, it's here if you want it. And finally, if I'm completely honest, I think I went because I was trying to create this like nice kid mentality, and in my brain, like, good, nice kids went to Bible study. So that's why I went, that and the free food, obviously. So, but it was at that Bible study that I first heard about this man named Jesus, who lived 2,000 years ago, but somehow had an impact in my life today. And it started just unpeeling these layers that I didn't know were there, and started answering questions that I had, like, maybe this is the thing I'm missing. And then finally, my wife now, who was then my girlfriend, she grew up going to church with her mom, and she started inviting me to go to her church with her after these Bible study things. We had been kind of talking about it. Her church started at 8 a.m., and so I dodged her longer than I dodged Brett, because, yes. Also, I didn't know what my family would think, right? I was gonna get up at 7:15 7:15, I don't know, 7:30 on a Sunday. They were all going to be sleeping, or one of my parents was going to be awake, and I just didn't know how they were going to react to that. And to their credit, they never said anything. It didn't bother them. But again, at that church, same message. Jesus lived for you. He came for you. He came to fill this void that you feel, that I feel in my heart, of always trying to be enough for someone else, of always trying to live up to expectations, of always trying to win. And there's only one guy that's never lost, and his name is Jesus. So that just changed my perspective on everything. It changed how I viewed my sport. It changed how I viewed my relationships. I'm still a chronic, pathologic people pleaser, but I think in a better way, to be honest. But so that year is when I really started realizing all these efforts that I was making were never going to satisfy me, and it had to come in a relationship with God through Jesus. And that was great. You know, as a high schooler, I was in my bubble, and it was a perfect opportunity to grow. But then I go to college, and if you play a sport, you usually go early. So I moved in June. Yeah, like 14 years ago today, I moved in. And you guys may know someone named John Diebler. He lived somewhere around here. He was okay, I guess. His oldest brother, Jeremiah, is the better one. You can tell everyone that. But so I knew him from when we were both at Valstoria, and he obviously played at Ohio State too. And I remember telling myself, going to college, like, I'm gonna follow John. John is kind of in the position that I wanna be. He's a senior, he's had some success. I think he's doing this college thing well, which I was kind of naive in that regard. He's a good student, but not as much of a nerd as you would think. But he had figured out college, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow in his footsteps. So I honestly believe if I would have done anything he did, if he would have been a guy that, you know, went out on Thursday nights, I think I would have went with him. If he was a guy that partied and stuff on the weekend, I think I would have done it. I would have at least hung out and been there. But to John's credit, I moved in on a Sunday, and the first thing he invites me to on Monday is a Bible study with other college athletes, and it was right outside my door. And I was like, okay, well, cool kids in college go to Bible studies, so like this is what I did. And that was where my category for what a Christian means exploded, because these guys were hockey players and lacrosse players, and they had big beards and they had tats, and like it was just a category that I didn't think existed for Christian athletes. And I came to college thinking everything was going to be about winning and making a legacy. And these guys were talking about what it was like to be, what would it be like to be a good father in the future? What is it like to be a good teammate? How do you love those around you in a way that holds them accountable, but also points them in a direction that is outside themselves? And that was the most shaping aspect of my walk with Jesus to this point, because it just set my eyes on something that was bigger than my sport and allowed me to really view basketball as a vehicle to allow God's light to shine in everything I could. And that was what my ultimate goal and hope was every time I played. And I hope that came through, because basketball is an amazing gift that I still get to play today, and it's an opportunity to show the skills and the talent and the joy that God's given me. So I go through college and just continue to learn, continue to grow. College was an amazing time. But then, honestly, I think another big shaping moment for me, if you don't know, like I wanted to continue to play, but everyone goes from telling you all the things you're good at, and then you graduate, and then everyone starts telling you how bad you are at things, because they're trying to figure out where you end up in a potential draft. So for me, I could shoot, and that was my label. I did a lot of things really well, but I couldn't shoot, and that was my reason why I couldn't make anything. So I set out to prove everyone wrong, but that summer was the hardest athletic time of my life, because I didn't get drafted. I got cut from a team and I found myself in a very small developmental league team, honestly just feeling really sorry for myself. And because at that point, everything in my basketball career had gone exactly how I envisioned, exactly what I thought what it should be. But it took a very honest conversation with my dad to tell me, you're feeling sorry for yourself, and it wasn't a Christian conversation, but it was a very eye-opening thing of like, mostly stop feeling sorry for yourself, open your eyes, what's in front of you, like make the most of it. And that got me to like really see like God had me this amazing opportunity to like, basketball was still an idol to me, and he had started chipping away at that. It was still the thing I was going to give me hope and joy and like my identity. And once he starts cutting me and showing me like, maybe you're not as good at this game as you think you are, it challenged me to really dive in and see like what's giving me this hope and joy that I am telling all these other people about. And then that helped as we continue to move forward. I opened my eyes. I just got married. We were living in California, basically on the beach. It was amazing. You guys should go to Santa Cruz if you ever have an opportunity. It's a little weird. People are a little weird, but the community was great. On a beach, organization was amazing. I got paid very little money, but I did get it paid on time. And my teammates were awesome. I had a roommate that was a believer. We could all hang out and chat about these things on the road. So it was just, God had me exactly where I needed to be. And that continued as I continued to play overseas. Every place I went to Hungary for a little bit, and then I went to Italy, Monaco, Montenegro, back to Italy for 2 years. Everywhere I went, there were believers that we could lean on and hope in and trust in. And it just showed me like God's idea and plan for like where you need to be and what you need to do is very different than if I had my chance, I would be TJ McConnell on the Indiana Pacers. Just, I don't know if you guys watch, but he just runs around and plays hard, and I think I could do that. That's where I would be. But God had different plans and better plans and bigger plans, and it took it outside of where I thought that was, and that took me halfway across the world, where my son was born, where we've made friends and met missionaries and have started organizations back here because of those relationships. It's just been amazing to see God working in all these things. And then he still felt like it was a good time for me to come back and start over and become a doctor and just try to help as many people as I can now and in the future. And figure out what it's like to parent 2 kids and be tired and mow the yard and like, what does it look like to be a Christian in this space where you are a family? And I think Open Door is like kind of touching on these things of, I guess, the daily interactions with those around you that matter and that you can show God's light and the change that he's made in your life. So for me, it's, the patients that I get to see every day, and it's maybe not like a drastic surgery, but it's sitting down and talking and having a conversation, sitting down in the room and not standing over them, or it's with my residents and how I interact with them. How am I handling frustration and being tired and maybe someone not handling a situation the way they should. It's with my kids when I come home when I'm tired, and what part of God's love am I showing to them? Am I being patient and generous and kind, or am I being short? And it's just, the older I've gotten, the more I've seen it's really the smaller moments that make the biggest difference in the lives of those around me and how I can show God's light. And again, I think Open Door is doing that every day, showing people how to have hope for their life, obviously beyond the material things they have, through Jesus and in God, but also helping them with the small things they need in their life that a lot of people might think aren't as significant or aren't a big deal. So I just can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to get a vision of what's going on here in this community in Wyandotte County. It's amazing, and giving me the opportunity to share with you a little bit about how God's just moving and continuing to move and continuing to change my life. And I hope that it's something that can help you guys in the future as well. So thank you guys again, and go Bucks, I guess is the